The evidence seems to indicate that you're watching Dolly Vision.
Topping up, Dolly Vision streaming real. True crime scene blast feel so unreal. YouTube madness like share, subscribe. Chat's on fire, burning the world fire. Where's the baby? It's in shadows crawl. People whisper footsteps down the hall. Fingerprints of the dead, cold as stone. He's got the scoop, there's the round known. Dolly Vision headlines, King the Beat. Truth unravels, crackling through the heat. Lost soul shining, echoes in the night. Rock the truth while live on air light. Topping up, Dolly Vision streaming real. True crime scene blast feels so unreal. YouTube madness like share, subscribe. Chat's on fire, burning the world fire. Where's the baby? It's in shadows crawl. People whisper footsteps down the hall. Fingerprints of the dead, cold as stone. He's got the scoop, there's the route unknown. Dolly Vision headlines, King the Beat. Truth unravels, crackling through the heat. Lost soul shining, echoes in the night. Rock the truth while live on air light.
What up, YouTube? Dolly back in the house again tonight. Tonight, we're talking about a shooting that took place by an ICE agent where a woman lost her life. Now, this stuff is blowing up on the internet. Protests are erupting all over the country because a lot of people believe that this woman was murdered in cold blood by ICE agents. Now, we're going to be talking about that tonight, watching some video on that stuff. So if you're into true crime and chaos, you are in the right place tonight. Now, we know that this is a controversial topic that we're discussing tonight. Let's see. Thank you, Dolly and PJ, for the remarkable and heartwarming memorial send-off for Miss Ann this evening. Dr. Latina, no problem. It's the least we could do. Ann was a really close friend of mine, and she absolutely will be missed. You know, you guys out here in my chat are not just viewers. Y'all are some of my really close friends and like family. So it was heartbreaking. And this story here is pretty bad too, you know. A lot of tragedy today and a lot of chaos going on. And, you know, it appears from the video that ICE agents ran up to this vehicle and pretty much shot this lady. Now, there's a couple of different angles of this video, and we're going to discuss that stuff. But first, guys, I'm going to need you to do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button. Leave your DNA, your fingerprints all on it, just in case you get deported and Dolly got to come save you from Mexico. Okay? We don't want that. So, like the video. And if you're brand new out there, make sure you sub up the channel, ring the bell for notifications. Like I said, we know this is a controversial topic, so please be respectful in the chat room. If there's things we discussed that you disagree with, be respectful. We're all adults. Triple D is in the house. Good to see you, Triple D. I hope you're doing well, brother. Oh, is that Triple D? Yeah, Triple D. Okay, what's up? I thought I read it wrong. I'm a little far from the TV and my eyes ain't as good as they used to be. So, of course, this shooting takes place, and a lot of people believe that she was wrongfully shot. It appears that ICE rolled up on a vehicle and a woman refused to get out of it. So when they ran up on the vehicle, the woman, of course, threw it in reverse, then threw it in the drive and went to take off. And ICE agents were surrounding the vehicle, and they fired into the vehicle and struck the woman and killed her. Okay. So a lot of people big mad about this, but I watched this video from a few angles. In certain angles, if you see it, you go, oh yes, they murdered this woman. Other angles, you would say, well, it looks like there's an ICE agent in front of the vehicle and she was trying to run him over, or maybe not trying to run him over, but trying to get away, and he was about to get ran over. And it's pretty brutal, and a lot of this stuff that is going on, is it really necessary? That is the question, right? Now, if you was going to run off over a police officer, should people really be protesting and tearing stuff up and things like that? But they did hold a memorial for the young lady. But we're going to jump into some video real quick before we start discussing this stuff, just so you can get a feel of what's going on, because maybe you didn't hear about this. Maybe you live in a cave and maybe you are busy with other things today. Okay. So give me 1 second. Let me share this video with you. All right, here we go. Let's kick into it.
A massive memorial in Minneapolis tonight. Family, friends, and community members are getting together in South Minneapolis to remember Renee Nicole Good, who was fatally shot by an ICE agent during a federal immigration operation. That operation ending with two very different versions of what led up to that shooting. ICE calls it self-defense. The mayor calls it reckless abuse of power. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ruparaj. We begin tonight with video from the scene and a warning for you. It is graphic.
Okay, so they didn't show the actual shooting.
37-year-old Renee Nicole Good
But you
was
can
shot
see
in
there's
front
an
of a
ICE
family member
agent
in
in
a
front of
snowy
the
residential
vehicle.
neighborhood.
See him? Okay, because when I first watched it from the back angle, I could see these two ICE officers, right? And I was thinking, well, she was just pulling forward. There's nobody in front of the vehicle. But there absolutely is. There's an ICE officer on the driver's side near the edge, but he's definitely in front of the vehicle. And it looks like for a second he goes to pull his weapon, but this officer at the driver's side door starts shooting first to protect the ICE officer that was in front. Now, there's always, let me discuss this real quick. There's always a lot of controversy here, because we live in a state where this has happened a few times here in Virginia. Okay. When people end up, high speed chases with the police, and then they wreck the car, and then they go to try to pull off, and there's a police officer in front of the car and they start shooting into the car. They have, basically shot a lot of unarmed people like this here in Virginia, because they're looking at this vehicle as this is a weapon and you could take somebody's life if you hit them with this car. So it's a, immediate threat of danger. And I see in the chat, it says she wasn't trying to hurt him. She was trying to get away. Well, here's the thing, guys. You can't almost run somebody over because you're trying to get away from the law. Okay, here's the bad thing. I know some people may not like this. When you flee the police, it is a felony. When they tell you to stop and they tell you to get out the vehicle, you are to stop and you are to get out the vehicle. Even if she accidentally hit him, not trying, she still put this man's life in danger by fleeing the authorities. And was it enough to really shoot and kill her? I mean, I have a hard time with that. I really don't think so. Would she, but she was definitely heading towards him. And it's just a bad, tragic situation, like, should the police have been messing with her? Now that's a different question. And now we could probably say, well, the police shouldn't have been bothering this lady. Right? I shouldn't have been bothering this lady. You know, they've been acting a little wild here lately in the country, just, you know, running up on people. But technically, ICE is the police. You know, they work for the federal government, and they're no different than a police officer. When a police officer tells you to stop, freeze, put your hands up, you know, and you got to comply with their orders. It's the same thing with ICE. Oh my God, here we go. Audio lagging is doing that for anyone else. Not legal to run from an ICE officer. From any officer. ICE not playing 100. ICE is definitely not playing. They have been real serious lately. And you know, it's the thing is, it's striking protest everywhere. Okay. People are really upset about the whole immigration thing. And you know, our country right now is a little bit divided on this whole immigration policy. You know, and I kind of sit in the middle on it. I understand both sides. And you know, there has to be, I guess, what you would say, a happy middle ground in this. And I just don't know if we're going to get to that point anytime soon where we can find a happy middle ground to this. Now, I honestly believe people that have bad criminal records should not be in our country. Okay. If you're a robber and a killer and a rapist and you fled Mexico or whatever South American country to come here, your ass needs to go back. Okay. We don't want you. Good people that are not criminals, they ain't breaking any laws. We need to come up with a way to fast track some of these people into U.S. citizens. Okay. So as long as they're contributing and paying taxes and just not sucking off the system, then I don't see any reason with them being here. I mean, most of our families came to this country looking for work and prosperity. The same reason a lot of these people have come into our country. But like I said, you got to be able to vet these people. That's why these borders are very important. What people are allowed into this country. There's a lot of gang members, a lot of felons, a lot of rapists, killers, drug dealers, and they're coming into this country. And it's one thing if you respect the country that you're coming into or you're trying to be a part of. You know, I get that. But a lot of these people don't respect it. You know, when they do protest, they're out there protesting, not with American flags, but whatever flag country they came from. Now, if you come here and you want to be American, then be American. Okay. You come out here and you protest as an American. You follow the laws, you know, and it's sad. It's a sad situation to see that things like this are happening and continue to happen in our country. All right, let's jump back into it.
South of the downtown there, Homeland Security officials say she tried to run over the Ram ICE officers with her vehicle, calling it an act of domestic terrorism. But witnesses say that's not what they saw. Here's how some of them describe what happened.
And I watched as a third person in full camo come and pull several times on the door handle, at which point the red vehicle reversed a few feet and started driving around, and the person who was by the driver's side originally, not the man who pulled on the door, but who was originally there, shot through the driver's side window 3 times.
And there was a maroon Honda kind of sideways in the road, and people were shouting move your car, you're obstructing the road. And the car began to back up and then pull forward at maybe 2 miles an hour. And then someone started to shout, no, no. And then a moment later, 4 or 5 shots were fired into the vehicle.
But here's the thing, as a bystander, okay, as a bystander in this, you say you're standing on the side of the road and you're watching this transpire. You only have one angle of this video. Okay. You only have one angle. You don't have the whole video. You don't have 360 view. of what's really going on. So you can watch this and see one thing, right? Which I'm not saying that these people or their witnesses are lying. I'm saying that is maybe what they seen. Maybe they couldn't see the other angles that, they have filmed this from and other people have that are showing this, which clearly shows an ICE officer in front of the vehicle. Now, these witnesses are making it seem like it's okay to flee the police. And it's absolutely not. It's not okay. Now, the question is this. It ain't a question if she was breaking the law or not, because she clearly was breaking the law by trying to flee the police. Okay. The question is this: was it enough for them to use deadly force? Could this police officer had got out the way of the vehicle? And I would honestly say yes. He was at the very corner of her car, and he was one step from getting out the way, and he seen that she was going forward. Did he have time to move? I would say yes. Now, as a judgment call, the other officer, did he know he could get out the way? Was his vision blocked by the vehicle? So there's so many different scenarios that are playing, and they're playing out really fast in real time. So you only really have a split second to make a decision. And that split second can be life or death. And now we got to remember, police officers have families too. They have wives, they have kids. These people, they want to go home, just like when I'm done YouTubing, I want to be able to know I'm alive and spend time with my family, right? Or when I go on these trips. They're the same way. Now, is this a mistake? This is one of those things, like I said, that's pretty controversial. It could be seen in two different ways. It depends on your perspective. It depends on if you think this cop was in danger or not. So I know this is going to be these ones of these stories that people are really divided on. Okay. Like I said, pretty controversial. That's why I don't want you guys fighting in the chat room. Let's respect each other's opinions, even if we don't agree with them. Okay. The ICE agent was dragged in June. He probably has PTSD from that. Well, yeah, I mean, that's not good either. And, a lot of people are going to say, well, she didn't do nothing. She didn't do anything. She was just in the road. It's a minor traffic violation. It's no reason to shoot and kill someone over something so petty. And I would agree with that, right? But once you start moving that vehicle, you just committed a felony. All right, we got to remember that, because a lot of people are not taking that into consideration, that at this point, woman, you're a felon, or you're going to go to jail for felony. All she had to do is stop the vehicle. Would they have snatched her out, cuffed her up, maybe put her in jail? Yes. Okay. They may even have been a little rough with her. Unnecessarily, right? Lack of training. I would agree with something like that. It escalated rather quickly. And like I said, this officer made a split-second decision thinking his partner's life was in danger. And you can actually make an argument for his life was in danger, and this woman was breaking the law. It just depends on your perspective of what transpired. Now, these protests, and it's like people look for a bunch of stuff to protest about. And listen, you have the right to protest and voice your opinion. Hopefully these protests, Proud Boys or ICE, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I do not think some domestic terrorist group is ICE. Okay. That's a little rough there, Zircon, in the chat. I would disagree with that. And I don't agree with everything that is happening. I don't, right? I do, like I said, I do agree that criminals need to be out this country. I think we can all agree on that, right? But people that are not, career criminals or bad people, they came here for the same reason our families did. Now, should they get legal? Absolutely. Okay. And I think we can all agree on that. And I don't think it should be so hard for immigrants to become legal citizens of this country. Now, I know this too, because, PJ is Croatian and it cost her thousands of dollars for her family to get here. They had to go through the whole immigration process to become legal citizens. Thanks to Pat Robinson, brought PJ and her family here from Croatia. And if it wasn't for CBN, PJ and her family probably would have never been U.S. citizens. Okay. But thanks to the church and Pat Robinson, I know people have mixed feelings about Pat Robinson. But thankfully, Pat Robinson got the family here. And, I met PJ. And but she had to go through this and it cost him thousands of dollars. And of course, her family worked for the church and things like that. So, but they fled a country, a war-torn country, to come to America. It wasn't just like they were like, okay, we're going to come here just illegally and, set up camp. They didn't have that option. There's an ocean between us, right? So I don't want to see good people suffer. I don't want to see good people losing their lives over little traffic stops and things like this, right? Over policing the community. I think there's been a lot of that going on. And here in Virginia, we've had a lot of shootings just like this. Now they have changed the laws here in Virginia where you can't just pull anybody over for anything. It has to be a moving violation because they don't want altercations between citizens and the police to go wrong and police get killed or police kill citizens over something so stupid as, I got a tail light out. My license plates are expired. Bad inspection sticker, right? So since they've changed these laws, I haven't got my car inspected yet. I haven't got pulled over either. So it really has to be something like you're swerving and they believe you're under the influence. You got to have, I think if they can get you for an inspection sticker, but it has to be 6 months old or something like that. But they did away with a lot of these, your tail lights out. They can't pull you for that. You have to make a moving violation and they can give you a ticket for your tail light if you do some other type of moving violation, run a red light, reckless driving, stuff like that. They can still pull you over for. But they did this in hopes that it would cut down on some of these officer involved shootings where some people just don't trust the police and they're scared of the police. I can tell you, Dolly has ran from the police. Matter of fact, I outran the police one day on foot and I was scared and I ran. I don't trust the police. Basically, I didn't want to go to jail. Okay. To be just dead honest, right? I just didn't want to go to jail that night. I was in a different state and I was like, okay, I think I can outrun this dude. And we were on foot. And of course I did. And then of course they called in backups and I just hid for a few. And when I seen the coast was clear, where I think I got him as I circled back to where I was at. And I guess they didn't think, I would go back to where I was at, but I went back to where I was at and I actually lost him. And it was over something silly. I was smoking in an alley behind a club. And when I was smoking and I was walking and there was a wall, so I couldn't see what was to the right of me. And as I break the corner, there's a police officer standing right there. He's standing right there at the corner. And as I exhale, I blow the smoke right into his face. Right. And he's standing there. He already has somebody hemmed up. And he's like, the smoke hits him right in the face. And he's like, come here. And he goes to grab me. And I just bolt, right? And it was just a little bit of fear and not wanting to go to jail. But thing is I wasn't in the vehicle. There was no threat of me running somebody over or hurting anybody. It was just, the mentality of let me get away, right? And thank you, Lord Jesus, I did. But I don't recommend anybody running from the police. It could really get you hurt. It could have ended bad for me. I could have ran. They thought I was reaching for a weapon or something and shot me or anything, right? So I don't recommend trying to outrun the police, especially in a vehicle. That's when you're putting the community in danger. That's when you're putting yourself in danger. You're putting officers in danger. And you just don't want to do that, right? So this woman really, honestly, if she would have complied, she might got a little roughed up. She may have, got some road rash from them slamming her on the ground, some bruises on her wrist from the tight ass handcuffs they put on you and squeeze the blood out your fingers. But she would be alive today, and that's a sad thing, for a family to deal with. And I'm sure they're upset. And like I said, it really depends on perspective of how you look at what happened, because I can see it really both ways. Does it hurt being that dumb? Yeah, if you know what they say, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough, okay? Jackass didn't just make that up. That is a real true thing. If you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. Some apply to ICE agents. He might have got roughed up a little, but not ran over. No, a 2,000-pound vehicle can really hurt you bad. And I mean, serious injuries. Okay. Now, you never know. They could have stood on her head like George Floyd or something. Listen, I know that's why people are scared of the police. I get it. Some of these police are really bad and they're brutal and they do some horrible stuff. But believe it or not, all police ain't bad. Okay. Now, the one that stood on George Floyd, terrible guy. He deserved what he got. You don't do that to somebody. Usually when they handcuff you, the first thing they do is pick you up off the ground. Okay. They usually don't leave you on the ground and stand on your back. Just a really bad guy that deserved to be in prison. And of course, he got what he deserved. This situation is absolutely completely different. It's a situation by situation kind of thing. And like I said, I see it from both viewpoints. It's a tragedy, right? It's a simple tragedy. I can understand people being mad, and I can understand people saying, well, she shouldn't have drove that car forward. She shouldn't have done those things. She could have killed that man that was in front of the car. And, that officer was doing his job. And, they don't train you to shoot, like, not to kill people. They train you to neutralize the situation too, right? So when they train in police officers and these ICE agents and FBI and CIA, they train you usually to stop the threat immediately. And that's kind of what they did in this situation. Me, myself, I would say, I think the officer could have got out the way, but that's my judgment, right? Would I have shot the lady in that same situation if I was that ICE officer? And, all through school, in high school, my plan was to become a cop. It truly was. I never did, right? Because I got into hanging out with chicks and smoking bud, and just didn't go that route, right? But when I was in high school, I had planned on being a police officer. So I really support the guys in blue. I know it's a dangerous job, and a lot of these people don't get credit for doing it. And there's bad people in this world that are police officers, and it makes all these police officers look bad. Now, I've had family that have been police officers that are really good people. They wouldn't hurt anybody. They're out here to help people. They're honest. They don't have a bad bone in their body, and, of course, those people would get a bad rap because it's just, and I grew up in the F the police era where it was like, people promoted harming police. Remember Ice-T, Body Count? Anybody remember that? He had the song. It was called Cop, Killer. You know what I'm saying? And I remember Ice-T had came to town, and the Virginia police told him, said, man, you go up on stage and you perform that song, we're going to arrest you. He still performed it. He still did. But it basically, it cites violence against police officers. And a lot of those, I had to say, I agree with Ice-T. A lot of Virginia Beach cops are not the best cops in the world. We have some really, really bad cops here. I don't know if you know the story here. Just last year, Pharrell, the singer from the Neptunes, some of y'all may know Pharrell. He hosts Something on the Water. It's a real huge, big music festival they have here in Virginia, right? And apparently there was a shooting at the oceanfront where 9 people got shot. Matter of fact, a reality star got shot and killed, and she was from the Bad Girls Club, I believe it was. I'm not a fan of the Bad Girls Club, but I just know she was a reality star, and she was on what we call the block, okay? The block is, for anybody from Virginia Beach, you would know the block. The block is like from, I believe it's 21st to 22nd Street. It's all clubs, okay? And a lot of people hang out there, even me. When I go out drinking or hanging out clubbing, I'll go to the block, okay? So she was at the block and some shooting broke out, and she was shot multiple times and killed right on the strip. While this was going on, a dude was panicking and he ran up to the police. And as he was running up to the police thought he was a threat by running up on him unarmed. And they shot and killed him. The police did. That dude was Pharrell's cousin, okay? Now, the police explained it like this. They searched the area and they found a gun a block away. They were trying to pin it like this was his gun. The gun was a block away from his body. And they tried to make it seem that if Pharrell's cousin had a gun, he was unarmed and he was scared. He was running up to the police trying to get help, and they shot and killed him. So Pharrell, of course, is a huge, huge star from this area. I mean, major star, has a lot of pull. And like I said, he does one of these festivals that bring millions and millions of dollars to the oceanfront. He canceled the festival, right? And it outraged families, sued the police. And I think they got millions and millions of dollars, okay? Which is just crazy. But, it's just the way that the police were trying to make it out to be like he was a threat and he was completely unarmed, running up to a police officer to try to get help, right? So let's get back into the story a little bit and the protest and all the things that are going on along with it.
At that point, I believe the person's foot hit the gas pedal pretty hard, and then it crashed into the nearest car on the opposite side of the street.
I saw the car parked in the road, and then a bunch of ICE agents walking up, screaming at her to move. And then when she backed up and then started to turn away and to move and to get out of their way, then one of the guys jumped in front of the car. Another guy tried to rip the door open, and then
the guy jumped in front of the car. He was standing in front of the car. You can see it on video.
Someone yelled stop, and then I heard gunshots.
Well, as you know, the shooting has sparked intense outrage. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey not holding back. In a profanity-laced press conference, he called the shooting reckless and demanded that ICE leave town.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better. But I do have a message for.
See, his message to me, it's like he's trying to spark an outrage, right? Which, what good does that really do? Because then it puts its own police officers in danger. It makes people act crazy, right? Now, he could have been a little more level-headed in what he said here, I think. Now, like I said, this is one of those things that's perspective. How do you see it? You know, if you see it as in he could have got out the way, then yes, it would be it's basically murdered this lady. But if they're telling this lady to stop, he even the witness said, "Hey, I heard one of the ICE agents scream stop," and then there was gunshots. Okay, then that's a little bit different scenario. But as the governor, you're trying to calm the situation, right? Like you could come out and tell people, "Hey, listen, we're going to investigate it. If this is something, we're going to hold the people accountable that done it." But to me, it sounds like he's trying to spark outrage. He's trying to rile people up. He's, and when you do this, then you got people throwing bricks through cop cars. You got people dropping cinder blocks off overpasses. The school has actually canceled school for the week because fear of some type of outrage at the schools. Okay. It's just too much. It's just too much.
Our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
And Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
I mean, that's not his call, right? I don't think that's the governor's call to tell ICE to get up. It's a federal agency, right? And now we know federal law trumps state law. Everybody knows that. I'm an idiot, and I know that, right? You can't tell ICE to get out the state. Listen, they have a job to do. They're a federal agency. They have the right to arrest illegal immigrants that are criminals. And from my understanding, they're not just arresting any illegal. They're arresting illegals that usually have a criminal record. They're targeting certain individuals that they believe to be gang members or bad people. They just ain't going after your average little family that has come here and ain't breaking the law. Now, has some people got caught up in the mix of that? I mean, it absolutely is possible, and that's not good, And the bad thing is if they had this what do they call it, deportation thing going on, where if you go ahead and go back to Mexico, you are able to come here legally. But if they have to deport you, you won't be allowed to come back to America for 20 years. Okay, so it was to encourage people to become legal, but I don't think that's a good way to do it either. I think if you're here and you're not a criminal, then you should try as you're here to become a U.S. citizen while you're here. Give some people some grace. And now the people that are here, these are probably the criminals and the bad element that, you probably need to get out the country anyway. And I think most people would say the same thing as me. And listen, if you're a bad person, we don't want you here. Okay. And you have to be able to distinguish the bad people from the good people. So it's important that we have ICE, because if we didn't have ICE, we would have Mexican gang members, Mexican cartel people, and them are the people that we want to get rid of. But it's like making an omelet. Eggs are getting broken, trying to get rid of the bad people. Good people are getting caught up in that. And that's what we got to try to avoid. And as a country, as a whole, don't matter if you're on the right or if you're on the left, we need to come to some happy agreement of what people need to go and what people should be allowed to stay if they do the right things. And that's what it's about. Like, America should be built on good people. Matter of fact, if you're American and you're bad, we need to get rid of you too. Okay. So it ain't just get rid of the bad people from Mexico. get rid of bad people in general, right? We ship you off to Guantanamo Bay or something. We need good people in our country. We need, we want to be safe. Most of us have kids and grandkids. We want to be able to go to the store and not get robbed, not get shot, not any of these things, right? So we need to be tough on crime. We need really tough. And some people, they want to be lenient on crime. And usually those people that want to be lenient on crime are criminals. Or they know they're going to be breaking the law sometime in the future. But people like me that don't do anything illegal, and I don't plan on, never robbed, killed, stabbed nobody or done anything bad. I'm really strict when it comes to laws, right? Because listen, if I can abide by the law and be a good human being, so can you, right? And but you don't want to make a stupid mistake that causes you your life. Who were responsible for what happened here? I would say all of them. She was, the ICE officers were, they could have handled it better. De-escalation, tactics. So I believe everybody is at fault. The woman driving the van, the ICE agents that overreacted. Who do you hold responsible at this point? Well, we can't hold her responsible because she's going to be in a coffin. The officers that did this, should they be held responsible for their bad part in this? I would say yes. Everybody has to pay the consequences for their action, because I really truly believe all of that could have been avoided. And I ain't saying that these officers need to be punished with going to prison like, the George Floyd, knee in your back kind of thing. But, maybe some suspension, maybe even kicked off the force. But as far as sitting in prison forever, they made a judgment call. It wasn't the greatest judgment call, I would think. But in a split second, you have to react. And I wish they would have reacted some other way, but they didn't. And, governments, the governors, some of these governors try to incite violence. Like we've seen that in California. We've seen that in Seattle. We've seen that in New York. Now we're kind of seeing this in Minneapolis. It's just not good, to be so. I think some people just hate Donald Trump so bad, right? They just hate that guy. It don't matter if he saved a drowning baby. Somebody would say something bad about it. Now, is he a perfect person? No, that dude says some stupid shit, right? Just constantly. But, it's our president, and you should respect the president no matter who it was. Like, I respected Obama. Bill Clinton, even though he was banging his secretary, Trump, he's the president. It's the president of our country. If you're a true American, least respect the president. Don't mean you got to agree with what he says. Listen, Trump does shit I don't agree with, but all these presidents have. Okay, everybody acts like there's a big difference in the presidents from, let's just say, from Joe Biden to Donald Trump. There ain't. It's the same goat. Two horns are the same goat. All politicians are crooks. Some are more crooked than others, right? So it's always the same. It's a divide and conquer kind of thing. It's taking place. If you put the people at heads with each other and we're fighting each other, we can't fight the powers above us because we're too busy trying to attack or tear down each other than to tear down our crooked government. Okay? And I don't care. All these people were hanging out on an island. Every last one of them, from Democrats to Republicans to what it is in this world. It's the elite and the poor. And the elite are winning. We, the people, we're poor. And even if you're sitting around going, Dolly, I ain't poor. Yeah, you are. Compared to their level of rich, you broke as shit. you know. And I seen a comedian today talking about racism. He said, you know, racism is baiting people to hate each other. He said there's the only race there is rich and poor. He said, when you eating your cornflakes out of a Cool Whip bowl that's stained with chili sauce, does it matter what color you are? And it's true. That's the only difference. If you would even look at our legal system in our country, rich people walk and poor people go to jail. I'm not poor, I'm broke. Well, that's below poor. Okay. Well, I'm broke to payday. Some people, you know, most people in our country live check to check. You know, there ain't, you know, and it ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, you can live a good life check to check sometimes if you know how to budget your money, you know, but it's just rich and poor is the only difference. And, you know, if let's be honest, if Joe Biden was the president right now or Kamala Harris, these officer involved shootings would still be taking place. You know, stuff like this would still happen. So, you know, it's a unity thing, you know, if people came together to fight against corruption. But like I said, we're working with perception, what you see or what you perceive it to be. And like I said, it could work on either way because, like I said, I looked at it from one angle and said, man, they just shot this lady for nothing. Then I looked at it from another angle and said, well, damn, she could have hit this man. There's a lot of could-haves, you know? So, I mean, we just got to do better. Police got to have better training. People need to stop running from the police. You know, they need to take orders and realize, hey, you know, once you make that mistake of running, like, just like I said, I ran from that cop that night. You know, if I would have got arrested, I would have been arrested for a felony charge for eluding the police. I was young and I was fast and I knew I could outrun this guy, right? I just knew it. And, but I don't recommend people doing that. Right. I don't recommend people doing that. That could have ended really bad for me. And you know whose fault it would have been? Not that police officer. It would have been my fault for not complying with an order. You know what I'm saying? Well, he never said stop. He said, come here. And he tried to grab me. Now, he didn't completely say stop. So therefore, technically, I didn't, or if he did say stop, I was so far ahead of him, I didn't hear it. You know what I'm saying? So I had him by like a half a block and then I bolted it through some woods. I dusted him. Right. So that's what happens when you eat donuts, right? I couldn't outrun him now. Okay. He would have caught me now today. I'd have been like 2 steps and I've been like, you wouldn't even have to struggle with me to put me in handcuffs. I'd already been on the ground. But like I said, you need to comply with orders of the police and not try to resist because, you know, your battle is not to be fought on the street. Your battle is to be fought in court. Even if they arrest you, you'll still have your day in court. Right. And when you do these things, you just make it worse for yourself because a simple traffic ticket or them, you know, being mean to her and then letting her go turned into this woman losing her life. It's become 2 classes, rich and poor. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And I never want to see anybody die. Definitely don't. And especially over something so stupid that truly could have been avoided.
Echoing the sentiment of the Minneapolis mayor, saying today recklessness costs someone their life.
Minnesotans, I say this. I feel you.
ICE cowards stuck in snow and ICE protesters attacked car, broke windows. ICE tried to move forward and was blocked by lady. Black ICE made it hard to move out of the way. ICE agent was clipped. Thank you for your donation there, Dr. Latina. Yeah, I mean, it falls under that. Don't do stupid stuff, right? And and don't put yourself in a situation to where something crazy could happen. You know, all these people have guns, and you know, if you have it, you're going to want to use it, you know. And but with considering the situation, there wasn't really no less lethal option. You can't tase somebody in a vehicle. You can't shoot them with a pepper ball gun. You know, you can't mace them. It's I just think it's a horrible tragedy that could have been avoided. And if, you know, people, if they're educate people on the situation, is, you know, don't put yourself in bad situations. Don't do something stupid. When the police tell you to do something, do it. And even if they're wrong and they arrest you for nothing, fight that in court. You know, like I had a cop tell me one time, he pulled me and we were standing on the side of the road arguing. He said, "Man, I ain't going to argue with you. We can argue in court." and then we went to court and I ended up winning. You know what I'm saying? But it's about de-escalating. Like, man, I ain't going to sit here and keep going back and forth with you. You know, look, there's a time and place for that. It's called court. We'll argue in court, you know? And you got to remember that. Just because you go to jail don't mean you're guilty. Okay? There's a lot of people that go to jail that are not guilty. They go to jail, they get a court date, they go to court, they're found not guilty. It sucks going to jail, but listen, to tell you this, I'd rather go to jail than my family come to my funeral. So I just say comply with them, lawyer up, get Alan Jackson's phone number, and stay alive.
Your anger. I'm angry. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough.
Wallace said
Donald Trump did not shoot this lady. Okay. Kristi Noem did not shoot this lady. An ICE officer shot this lady. Okay. Well, why not blame the officer that overreacted? Right. I don't think it's Donald Trump's fault. He wasn't there. He didn't go, "Hey, shoot this lady."
he reached out to Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and is now waiting to hear back. More than 2,000 officers have been deployed in the Twin Cities from ICE as part of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. This case sparking outrage across the country. A crowd tonight pouring into downtown Detroit to protest. Let's get live to Fox's Lauren Edwards. She's there now. We're all
people in Detroit were just bored, and they got nothing to even do with Detroit. And when you watch it from multiple camera angles, I mean, like I said, it's perspective. It's all perspective, how you want to see it. If you think the government's bad, you're instantly going to see the worst in it. If you stay neutral and just look at it like I have, I think you will see it like I see it. It could be either way. You know, it's a decision, and it was made by an officer that had a split second to react. It shouldn't be outrage over everything. It should be outrage over the one officer that could have probably made a better decision. And I say probably. There's a possibility he made the right decision. Now, listen, if I was in law enforcement and me and my partner's in a situation and there's a chance that I could die and my partner does what he has to do, is he wrong for that? Because that's your job, is to protect each other, you know. Even if one of my friends was standing in a car and you know, or somebody or just even not an officer, but just another person, would I use deadly force to keep you from killing somebody else? I would say absolutely. So it's just one of those things. But if you could get out the way, he should have just got the hell out the way and de-escalated the situation. But like I said, when you have split seconds to react, you just really don't know what you're going to do.
All of these protests happened. She spoke to the organizers, and Lauren, I'm sure they had a lot to say.
Oh, absolutely, Ruth. You know, before any of this happened, I just took a quick look at the map. Just wanted to see how far Minneapolis is away from here. And it's about 10 hours and 27 minutes. And even though the tragedy happened over there, it was definitely felt here. Many saying that it's the reason why they gathered and protested in the area behind us. Take a quick listen to just some of the chanting.
No ban, no wall, sanctuary for all.
No ban, no wall, sanctuary for all.
Oh, hell no. Sanctuary for all. Listen, that's where these people got it confused, right? I believe that, yeah, there's sanctuary for good people. The hell with your bad people. You're saying all. All includes murderers, rapists, cartel, gang members. There's no safe haven for these people. We shouldn't even allow our own people that are bad to have safe havens. You know, so if you were saying, you know, ICE is kicking out good people, I could back that. I can get behind it. But sanctuary cities for all, we seen how that played out, right? Y'all seen that shit in Seattle, right? That worked great. All until somebody they're killing each other, and they had to call in the damn paramedics and the police to save them from themselves. We seen how that worked, right? Just wanted to say the set is looking good, Dolly. Well, thank you guys. Yeah, and then you let all these bad people in, and then you're gonna be the one calling the police wanting help. The same police that you want to defund and not support. I don't know. I have a different vibe for it. Like I said, I love good people. You're a good person. I don't care where you come from in this world. I think you should be welcomed with open arms. You're a bad person. We should ship your ass to Mars. Okay. Not only should you not be in this country, but you shouldn't be on this damn planet. All right. We're too lenient on badass people. Laws need to be tougher. Prison sentences need to be longer. And like I said, anybody else coming into our country, if you don't sneak in through the border, they have to follow the rules, right? They have to. It's not fair to people that are legally immigrating here for people to illegally immigrate here. We need to know it does take a long time to get in this country, and it does cost a lot of money. That may need to be changed. That's what they need to be fighting for. And that's what they need to be standing up for, is make it easier for people to come here, not let's harbor killers and murderers and rapists and weirdos.
Now, as you're looking at right now, dozens of Detroiters in front of the ICE building on Michigan Avenue in the downtown area, protesting that fatal shooting of Renee Good up in Minneapolis. And as Minnesotans took to the streets, so did Detroiters, marching and chanting through the downtown area as well. And the protest was organized by Comité de Acción Comunitaria, which is also known as Detroit Community Action Committee. And we spoke with the lead organizer. Her name is Cassandra Rodriguez, and she says the shooting was an absolute abuse of power.
I hate that this is happening, and I think I can speak for a lot of us when I say I'm angry. This shouldn't be happening, and I think a lot of us have been out in the streets protesting stuff like this before, and it's not surprising to us, but it's always devastating. We will continue to fight for better change, for accountability in our cities. I think this is something that should never be happening and is completely unacceptable, and I think it's up to our local governments to really take a hard stance against something like this and not allow ICE to just do whatever they want in our.
Your government has no say. Your local government has no say. It's federal. You're in the United States of America. You're not in your own country, woman. Okay? You're not in the country of Chad or whatever it may be. You're in the United States of America. There's such thing as federal law. You abide by federal law, okay? It oversees state law. So you kind of got to deal with it. You know, if it's one of those things where you don't like the way the country's ran, you know, then go become a legal citizen of Canada. But I guarantee you this, you ain't going to you're not going to illegally immigrate to Canada or any other damn country around here. Okay. You're going to have to go do it the right way, just like everybody should have to do. And I just think people think they're above the law, and nobody is above the law. That's what the reason people put these laws in place. If you don't like the law, then vote for people who will change the laws to laws you like. It seems so like I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And you know, are some of these people paid? Are they actors and just disruptors? I mean, possibly. I mean, I don't know. I don't know these people personally, but some people would say they are. You know, when you got people dropping off truckloads of bricks and stuff to tear shit up with, I just don't like that. You know, abide by the laws. And if these people abide by the laws, we wouldn't even have no ICE. Think about that. Tell people to stop coming here illegally, and ICE will stop showing up. They won't have anybody to arrest. I mean, it's perception. It's how you look at things. If they wasn't coming illegally, you wouldn't have ICE in your town. But since they're coming here illegally, now you got ICE. Don't blame Trump. Blame the illegal immigrants that are coming to your town, because they're bringing ICE with them. And now you got these shootings. And they act like Donald Trump was there pulling the trigger. He wasn't. He's just he's holding up federal law. This is the law of the land, and he's enforcing the law. The problem is we've had presidents that don't enforce the law. And now we have a president that's enforcing these laws, and people don't like it, you know? But these same people that didn't like it, they didn't get out and vote for Carmela, right? Trump beat her by like a millions of votes. I mean, if y'all were such haters of the man, then get out and vote. That's why they have the get out and vote campaign. You know, let your voice be heard. Become a voter. Most of these people slept in and didn't go vote, but now they want to complain. And like, listen, if I got to follow the laws, you got to follow the laws. Ain't nobody special here. Ain't nobody better than anybody else. We all the same. If I was to do that, they would have shot me. Okay. And I'm as American as you can get. You know, I'm from the deep damn South. You can't get no more American than Dolly. And if I would have did that, they would have probably shot me too. It's sad. It's sad. It's a tragedy. And, you know, what people should be talking about is how can we avoid these tragedies in the future? Not like, well, let's protest, you know?
Neighborhoods. Now, coming up on the edge, we also asked her, and she talked about just the legal rights that the woman had for even just being there, and others there too. And we're going to get into all that again up on the edge. For now, reporting live here in downtown Detroit, Lauren Edwards, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, I know there's been so much concern across the country about ICE agents kind of coming in and being deployed into cities across this nation. Folks in Minneapolis not happy with what they're seeing there. Are there concerns from the people you talked to today that they'll see a similar deployment in our state?
Oh, absolutely. And they've already talked about it, and they talked about what's already been going on. And they said over and over again, the chanting, the protesting, gathering like that, they do that to bring awareness to what's going on, to bring awareness, to stand in solidarity with, sadly, the tragedy that happened up in Minneapolis, but also what's happening here.
Well, certainly they did it in the way they're supposed to, which is peacefully, and they got their voices heard. Lauren Edwards for us live tonight. Thank you. Minneapolis leaders are now blaming the federal government, saying there was little to no communication ahead of the operation. The mayor and governor say they were left in the dark and are demanding answers. Former chief of police for the Detroit Police Department, Ralph Godby, joining us now in studio with some perspective. And it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Rube, thank you for having me.
I want to ask you, there's a couple layers and levels here, but the first one that we'll just leave off where that lead in led in, which said that the officials there wished that they were in the loop when it came to the federal deployment. Although no local official would want a deployment, what is the right way to do that?
Well, the fact that they wanted to be included in the conversation speaks volumes, because there's a level of coordination that has to happen between state, federal, and local. There's a level of deconfliction that needs to happen as well to make sure that no officers are operating in a way where they can hurt one another or someone innocently can be caught in a crossfire. So that's extremely important for span of control, for processing of prisoners, for service of warrants. There are just so many things that go into that. To drop 2,000 agents into an area without coordination and cooperation, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, but if your governor is not following federal guidelines, and it's their job to organize it, okay? What the problem is, it's not being organized. And whose end is that on? So you're saying that, well, we should let killers and murderers and rapists run around our streets until we can organize. I think people are tired of waiting for you guys to organize, and the federal government has stepped in.
Talk for a moment about what you've seen. Now, I'm sure you've seen that video probably close to 100 times, looking at it on your own as you research, but also watching it in the media. What strikes you when you see that video right away?
I think the first thing that jumps out at me, when I was chief in Detroit, particularly the 2 years that I was in charge, we were charged by the Department of Justice to enforce policy and make policy change that would forbid shooting from or at a moving vehicle. So the irony is not lost on me that
I guarantee you this: Detroit's had all kind of officer involved shootings. If you was a police officer and you worked under this dude, he would allow you to get ran over. Okay, he would allow you to get ran over. Now, he seems like he's making it okay to people to move a moving vehicle at an officer. Okay, is he saying that because it's an ICE officer and not one of his police officers? Would he say the same thing if somebody was trying to run over a Detroit police officer? I don't think he would. And if he did, no police officer would want to work under him. Okay? That, okay, I'm not even protected at work, that somebody can run me over and kill me and we can't do nothing about it. We can't defend ourselves. Everybody, every human in this country has the right to defend themselves. If you was driving your vehicle at me and I had a firearm and you purposely with intent was going to run me over, and it's either me or you, it's going to be you every time. Now, of course, I would try to get out the way, but if there was no possibility I could get out the way, then I'm going to do what I have to do to see my family, you know? So that's why I said I can see both perspectives of it. Some people look at it and say, well, he could have got out the way, and he might have could have. So that's why I'm a little 50-50 on it, you know? And then there's some people that say, well, he couldn't have got out the way. And you know what? You're just as right as the people that say he could have got out the way. Only he knows that answer, right? Everybody else is speculating. He could have, he couldn't, he could have, he couldn't have. And then so it puts you on the fence. It's a 50-50 kind of thing, you know? But the problem is this: if you want ICE gone, then the illegal immigrants got to go, and then ICE wouldn't show up. There's a cause and effect to everything in this world. The cause is illegal immigrants are coming. The effect is ICE is showing up. So why ain't these people saying, hey, we want ICE out of our communities? To do that, you need to get these criminals out of your communities. These same people crying are going to be the same ones calling the police when they get their head busted open.
This very situation goes into what the Department of Justice, under 2 consent judgments, mandated that we revise our policy.
About how things like that are handled.
Absolutely. And the preference is if there's any way possible for the officer to secrete themselves and get out of the way of the vehicle if they feel that that's an imminent danger. What we saw in that video, from my professional experience, almost 29 years in policing, actively taught as an adjunct professor, it is hard for me to see a justification for lethal force.
It is simply too soon out of decency to place blame at this hour on anyone. But I do want for a moment to just reflect on what happens in a situation where an ICE agent or a police officer stops someone. It was clear that this person was trying to avoid contact, was trying to get away in some way, shape, or form. The most important thing that everyone at home can do, whether you agree with this arrest or you don't, is to do what?
It is to abide by the officer's order.
Okay, he just said it himself, right? Abide by the officer's order. So he's basically saying, he don't want to say it, but he just said, hey, she should have listened to the police. Okay, he don't even want to say that, and he said it because there's no other answer to it. If I was to give you advice out here, I would say, listen to the damn police, people, so you don't get shot. And, you know, much as he didn't want to say that, he just said it. Abide by the officer's rule.
Because at the end of the day, I think that the shooting is not going to be found to be proper from a force continuum standpoint. But the reality is, for the victim and for the 6-year-old orphan that is now left, she may have had the right or right of way, but at the same,
she definitely didn't have the right or right of way. When the officer told her to stop, that is a direct order. She, at that point, she was eluding. Eluding is a felony. So you even said she should have listened, and now you're going to change it up and say, well, you know, force was used. I can tell you at the end of the day, they're not going to do anything to these ICE officers. Nothing. Good luck with that. You think that ICE officer's going to jail? No. This ain't the same type of situation, you know, because this is a 50-50 thing. Some people see it like it was justified. She was at that point, she was a criminal. She was told to stop. She continued to drive forward with a police officer, an ICE officer, which is the same thing as a police officer, in front of the vehicle. There's been multiple cases here in Virginia where police have shot right through the windshield. Shot the driver. You pull forward or even backing up and shot into the car. We can pull up cops and I can show you 50 videos of the exact same thing that all in the end were ruled justifiable because that vehicle is a dangerous weapon. And you at that point was committing a crime. You're not just innocent because you were told to stop and you fled, which when you get arrested is what? It's looting, and it's a felony charge. So you're actually endangering a police officer while you're committing a felony.
Warning loss of life. I'm shook. As a lifelong practitioner, I spent a lot of my career trying to build bridges in communities, and this just destroys trust and legitimacy with communities with what our badges are supposed to represent.
And especially,
he's saying it like people trust the police as it is. I thought I was showing the video. I wasn't even showing it. People don't trust the police as it is. Okay, like there's some bad police. I'm going to say honestly, do I trust the police? No. That's why I try not to do nothing stupid, because I don't want one of these people to hurt me. And like when I get pulled over, I put both hands on the steering wheel, right? Because I don't want these people to say I was reaching for anything or anything that could possibly go wrong. So, the best thing to do is comply with what they say. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. If depending on if it's a male or female officer, and let them be a dick. Write your ticket and go about your day to live another day, right? Because these people come up and they got guns, right? And some of people are just naturally scared and timid people, and they think, that you're going to hurt them. And then next thing you know, they react out of fear. And next thing you know, you laying on the side of the road dead.
Especially when a group like ICE is trying to come into these communities and these men and women are trying to do their jobs. Now the trust is degraded with them, so it puts their their credibility at risk. But I do want to ask you one final question about what you saw in that video. When you see that that vehicle kind of move forward, after there was that confrontation, it seems as though she wasn't willing to stop. Did you, in your mind, see that she was trying to ram into officers?
No, I did not. It appeared as if she was just trying to clear and flee the area.
With an officer standing in front of the vehicle, it appears she was trying to flee the area with an officer standing in front of the vehicle. So should we give her the opportunity to run that dude over? I mean, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you what I would have done in that situation. As a police officer, and she started moving forward, I would have drew my gun and tried to get out the way. But that's me. Maybe that guy don't think he's as fast and he couldn't get out the way. Maybe his partner was like, man, my buddy ain't going to be able to move quick enough. And he fired the shot. If she would have complied with the police, she may have went to jail, but she'd be alive right now. And that's pretty bad.
At most, which is not punishable by death, number one. But it did not appear just on first blush. Now, we always Monday morning quarterback. So for that specific officer to make a decision, we have to assess that officer's decision based on a reasonable officer's standpoint. But from my perspective and from my training and experience and policy implementation, it did not appear as if that was the most prudent action to take.
And I think laymen and laywomen like us out there need to kind of reserve our judgment and wait for more experts like yourself and others to look at the video and really figure this out. Whether they're Republicans or Democrats, if you're in the expert division of this, you should be looking at it, and hopefully this will be adjudicated in the way that it should. Ralph Godby, former police chief of Detroit, it's good to see you. We thank you for joining us, even under such sad circumstances.
Thank you,
Okay. So, like I said, I think this is one of those, it's your perspective kind of thing of, and it was an officer's decision. We could argue, did he make the right decision? Did he make the wrong decision? But he was forced to make a decision. It wasn't like he wanted to just, shoot this lady. It just basically, he had to make a choice. And that choice was, bad. Okay, this is Trump responding to the ICE shooting.
A woman in Minneapolis is dead after an ICE-involved shooting. These are live pictures from Minneapolis. There are videos, as we speak, going around social media showing what happened earlier today between protesters.
So you see that he was pretty much nudged out the way. Now, maybe that's a little bit of overkill, overreacting to the situation.
And ICE. We're working on bringing you those videos. You can see one of them on your screen as we speak. Basically, here's what it describes.
Shot was fatal.
It shows agents in a truck pulling up to a car that appears to.
I don't want to keep showing that. I just want to get to the news part of it. Hold on.
He wrote, "I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. It is hard to believe he is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirety. But the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are just trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate." Now, not long after the incidents, just a few hours ago, we saw chaos already beginning between law enforcement and rioters on the streets of Minneapolis. Watch.
I mean, when I see people carrying around masks, like, you knew some stuff was going to break out if you're carrying around a respirator or a mask. You know, it's when stuff like this happens, all it does is open the window for more people to get hurt. Right? I understand people are outraged, but I think, you know, you need to be outraged at the voting polls and things like that. You know, just putting yourself in danger, fighting with the police, shoving and screaming and cussing, showing up in helmets. Look at this person with a helmet and a gas mask on. Did they come there for a peaceful protest? Right? Is that a peaceful protester wearing a helmet and a gas mask? I mean, you could say the same thing about the police, though. You'd be like, Dolly, are they peaceful? They're wearing masks and helmets too. It's things that need to be de-escalated. It's like escalating the problem ain't helping the problem. Like that. Okay. Now, would it be okay for that cop just to run him over? I don't think so. I just noticed you put your hands on the police around here and you're going to take an ass whipping. Okay. That whole shoving police and putting your hands on the police kind of thing. And now this ain't even ICE. This is the police. Okay. This is them doing this to the police. So it don't matter to these people if it's ICE or the police. They're going to act the same way no matter what agency it is. You know, this is the local police.
Get out of the way. Get out.
Do you see anybody wearing anything that says ICE on it? No, these are regular police officers, and they're acting like this to regular police officers. They blocking the road. They won't let them through. They're standing in front of the cars. You know, it's all about, you know, trying to stop them from doing their job, right? Like, it, to me, it's young people without shit to do. All right. They're like, yo, let's go out and play real life Grand Theft Auto and fight with the police. Right. is how I see it. I just think it's unnecessary. Yeah, Virginia don't play. Virginia don't play. You wouldn't do none of that shit here. Okay, do you ever notice you turn on the news, you don't see it happening here in Virginia? You ain't messing with the police like that here. They put everybody in jail and whip your ass and ain't worried about you suing them. We violate constitutional rights on a daily here, right? They try that if you want. I'm a local, I'll tell you. And don't be stupid and come here thinking you're going to do some stupid shit. You ever notice that, what is that protest group? No Kings. They protest everywhere, but they will not protest here. Okay, they will not protest in Virginia. They tried, right? In Virginia, the people told them, said, listen, you get out in the, you better have the permits. You step out into the street, you're going to jail. We had a No Kings protest in Virginia Beach. Not one person stepped in the street and nobody broke a law. It was the most peaceful shit I've ever seen, right? Because they couldn't act crazy. You act crazy here, you going to get, I mean, there was a lot of people. I give them that. There was a lot of people showed up to the No Kings protest, but it was a peaceful one. It was a peaceful one. I'll tell you that. Wasn't none of that crazy shit. Wasn't none of that pushing on police officers, blocking the street. It wasn't none of that. That didn't exist. It didn't happen because, everybody here knows when you step out into that street, you're going to jail. You put your hands on an officer, you're going to prison. It just don't happen. They just stood there, held their signs, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya. That's what you better do here. We are strict on laws. We're strict on crime. And any local here, I tell you, you come on vacation, you leave on probation, they send you back on violation. That's just the way it works.
Chris, get out the way! Get out the way of the truck! Move!
Tense in a city that not even 6 years ago was destroyed by political tension, by lawlessness, by agitators. And on that note, not long.
Okay, let's skip this video. They keep showing this lady get shot. I do not want to see that.
I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Trust me, I have a lot to say about Mayor Jacob Frey and how he's handling what's happening in Minneapolis. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But just in the last few minutes, Democrat Minnesota Governor Tim Walz also found a podium.
I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help.
Bernie Sanders is still alive? I feel the burn when I see this guy. Don't he look like an old ass Bernie Sanders? When you so old, you too old to be in politics. Good Lord. You should be picking your gravesite.
From the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops.
National. What does the word national mean? Right? Think about that. The National Guard. Just think about that, what he said for a minute. The national, the whole national. That means they're the United States National Guard. Not that they're your National Guard. Like you own the people, like you're a fucking general. You look like you're looking to die somewhere slowly. Okay? They're not your military. That sounds so people. Good. Who vote these people in, right? Who the hell votes these people into office? Somebody had to vote for them, right? Or they rigged the ballots, or there's some, some dead people voted. I mean, who voted that corpse right there? Somebody voted for that dude. Somebody actually voted for that man. That's just hard for me to believe. It's just preach on down. I'm just looking at the dude like he just said, the National Guard, but yet don't know that the National Guard is national. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. We got 284 likes on this video. I'm surprised we got that, right? Usually when we talk political things, people get all mad, but y'all been pretty respectful in the chat tonight. Thank you. Even if we disagree on things, I want everybody to kind of get along. We're all adults here. And I'm just stating my opinions. You don't have to, I'm not trying to force you to agree with nothing I agree with. You don't have to agree with me on anything here. I'm not trying to force you into my beliefs. I believe everybody sees things the way they see it, and you have that right, and you have the right to your opinion, just like me. The only difference is you're watching me and I have a mic in front of me. That's really only difference. What do you do in a situation like this? People are not trying to de-escalate it, right? The federal government's trying not to de-escalate. Your local police and mayors and governors, they're not trying to de-escalate it. So what does it do? It gets more people hurt. I just watched like 15 people get maced in the eyeballs. Their eyes are burning like shit right now, right? Dry eye commercial, Visine. I'm going to buy stock in Visine with all these protests going on, because there's going to be some dry eyes. And what do you need when you get maced in the face, right? You're going to need some Visine, so if I buy stock now, maybe in a couple of years, I'll be rich. They'd be like, Dolly, how'd you get rich? I'd be like, man, I bought into Visine, okay? Dry eye. Everybody got getting maced in the face, right? Milk, right? He needs some milk. He needs some milk. Criminal is criminal. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't care if you're stupid, okay? I don't want to see stupid people get hurt. Doing stuff like this is stupid. But still, as a human being, I don't want to see my, stupid people get hurt. I'm stupid. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Like, it's de-escalate the situation. Let them figure it out. And if the cop did something wrong, then most likely he'll get in trouble for it. I'd say most likely, because I know that ain't happening. He has the backing of the president. You already heard that. So it ain't no chance in hell that he's going to jail. Okay. Not with the backing of the president. That's the head dude in charge. That's the final boss. Okay. The final boss. Like a video. You got to beat Trump to win the game. Okay. That's the final boss. And he's a G. I mean, I wouldn't mess with Trump. I wouldn't. I'm like, this dude don't play. You just seen what he did to that president of Venezuela. That man gives two shits. He knows he's on his last term. He don't care what you think. I ain't mess. That dude's a dangerous, dangerous man. So mess with him if you want to. You're gonna be in trouble. You're gonna be in a world of damn trouble. That old man don't play. He don't play. Maybe the self tanning done soaked into his brain. I don't know. But I think the situation needs to de-escalate. And I can tell you this, it's only gonna get worse. That's day one of protesting. So tomorrow, this weekend, oh Lord. Because most people, it's during the week, they have to work, so they can't protest. But come this weekend, oh, hell is going to break loose. We're going to see rioting all over the country, especially in all these liberal states. You're going to see a lot of stuff going on. People blocking highways, people getting hit by cars, and it's just terrible. Maduro was arrested for the same crime as P. Diddy. Both had too much oil. That is right. You know what I'm saying? I seen a meme. It was P. Diddy braiding Maduro's hair. And it said, "Don't worry, man. They took my oil too." That's just terrible. That is just terrible, right? Some people got a wicked sense of humor, right? Damn. Listen, we taking your oil. I don't care if you P. Diddy, you Maduro, who you are, right? We coming for it. We coming for that. We're gonna make jet fuel out of it so we can sell it to to the Ukraine. I don't know, man. It's I just don't want to see anybody getting hurt. Like, listen, if you want to protest, that's fine, but don't get yourself hurt. You protest at the ballot boxes, make change that way. Being in the street and unlawless don't make change. What it does is make laws to stop you from doing that type of stuff. And you don't want to lose your freedoms. Nobody does. I believe everybody has the right to protest, but what you don't have the right to do is hurt people, assault the police officers, burn down buildings, loot, riot. And these cities, they're going to use this as a way to get a big screen TV, a Gucci pocketbook. There's going to be some looting this weekend coming, right? Like, you're so mad that you're going to rob Walmart. Yeah, we're getting justice that way. Fight the power. Let's go loot the damn CVS. And it's coming this weekend. If I was CVS, I'd be boarding up the doors. If I had a store in one of these cities, I'd be damn boarding it up right now. And I'm right. Anybody think I'm wrong? I guarantee this weekend, right here on this channel, we'll be watching looting videos. Because people just look for a reason to go steal something. Oh, shit. We can use this as a reason to get something free. You should buy the Vaseline. How can Diddy be wrong? They're right. Wanted to loot on Lake Street tonight. I'm not sure if they started yet. And I mean, we know it's coming. Anybody with any common sense knows they use shit to just tear stuff up. And it's usually young people, right? Young people just like to raise hell. I get it. I was young. I would have went and tore some shit up with you, and people look at a reason that they're like, our microwave broke. We could get a new microwave, right? Or we can get some fucking ankle socks from CBS. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? They're going to hit the drugstores. They're going to hit whatever's open, And the bad thing is that they just tear up their own community, and then they complain, well, the stores are closed because they got to rebuild every damn thing. I prefer New Balance over Nike, size 12. No cussing, please. Yeah, let's keep it classy and not trashy in the chat room, guys. And I don't know. In the comment box down below, guys, y'all let me know what y'all think about this situation. Is this a murder, or was this a justified shooting? That's the question. Easy one tonight. Don't put it in the side chat after this video. I want you guys to put it into the room, to the chat box. What the hell do they call that? The comments. Put it in the comments and let me know what you think. And listen, guys, no fighting in the comments, because I know people see this different ways. I just want to see how the majority of you guys see it. Like I said, I'm 50-50 on it. It could go either way. It could be justifiable, or it could be an overreaction, depending on your perspective. And, we wasn't there. We may not have had the angle that the officer had that fired the shot in alleged self-defense. So, and another question, is a car a weapon? I think so. You know, I think a car is a weapon, but I'm asking you guys. But my opinion would be like, I think a car could be considered a deadly weapon for sure. So play stupid games, win stupid prizes. F around and find out. Yeah. Operation Absolute Resolve, right? Absolute Resolve. So you guys let me know what y'all think. And of course, I got a busy day tomorrow, and I will see you guys sometime probably tomorrow afternoon. So stay tuned. Make sure you tune in, all my late night people. Thank you for being here with me. Not many people here tonight, but still a good time. I like it sometimes when it's slow and I can really chat with you guys. It was a weapon when someone drove through a parade. There you go. I mean, it, like I said, it depends how you perceive things, and different people are going to have a different view. I guess it depends on who you are and what side of the political fence you're on. And but just being neutral, like I said, I see it 50-50. It could be either way. So I can understand some people being mad, and I can understand some people saying, hey, she broke the law. She didn't listen. She brought it upon herself. It could have been avoided. You know, I can see all those answers. And I want to see yours. And just remember this, great way to support the channel. Check out buydollysoap.com. We got soaps, lotions, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, you name it. Support the cause. It keeps Dolly alive. And remember this, if nobody else loves you, Dolly does. Peace, guys.